Hello and welcome to this video. It's going to be a little bit different from the videos I usually do, so it's not going to have stuff about nutrition in it, and I'm not really going to talk about my medical condition either. Maybe a little bit, but mostly what this video is about is my journey getting to UCD and moving out of my home away from my parents, which for me was a very big step, a step that I always knew I was going to take eventually, because once I put my mind on something, I kind of find it hard to forget about it. But I kind of didn't think I would do as well as I did, to be honest, and I'm so grateful for everybody who helped me get there. My family, friends, my doctors, nurses, SNAs, PAs, you name it. I had so many people help me. I'm not even going to try to name them all because I will forget people. But thanks to them, I was able to do something that has been on my to-do list for a very long time. Now, I still haven't got my degree. I haven't finished yet, but getting there was the main step and a big step. So going back to why I chose to go to UCD, I didn't really choose to go to UCD. I wanted to be a dietitian, and that's what I wanted to be for pretty much since primary school. I don't actually know where that idea came from. I know that I had a lot of dietitians, or not a lot, but I had dietitians that treated me, and I think along the way I kind of thought, well, I want to help people. Being a doctor and nurse is not possible because they're like superhumans. And then I looked at dietitians and thought, they still help people, but they don't have those long hours. And I love food, despite having intestinal failure. I do love food. So I was like, helping people through food, that sounds a good job for me. So I set my sights on dietetics. Then when I got to secondary school, and I started working towards my leaving cert, and we were filling out the CAO form, there was only 2 colleges in Ireland at the time that offered the dietetics course. Another thing about becoming a dietitian in Ireland, there's one specific course that you need to do. It doesn't matter, you could have done 20 other course, bachelor's degrees, honours degrees before that, all to do with nutrition, human nutrition, this, that, the other, and you would not be able to call yourself a dietitian without having this specific course, either as a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. So that course was offered in Korean, and it was offered in UCD, and I think Trinity, it was kind of between UCD and Trinity, they done it together. So it was either move to Korean or move to Dublin. I put down both, and I thought, well, I worked towards these points. I think it was 540 points or something, and then I'll get to move to Dublin. And yes, in the back of my mind, I did think, that's not realistic. You've never been away from your parents except as a hospital admission. And well, I went to Bardstown for a week, but you've never properly been away from parents and been independent in that way, and you have all these medical things. I knew it wasn't realistic at the time, but I pushed that aside. And then I think people started to realize that, if I did happen to get the 540 points needed and did get into the courses, someone would have to be the bad guy and tell me that I couldn't go. So I was told to take them off my CAO, and I had the courses in LYIT, the food science and nutrition course. So they were on my CAO, and that was that. So at this time, when I was doing my leaving cert, there was a lot going on that year. I started on a new treatment called parenteral nutrition. I have a video all about that and what that entails for me. And as much as a pain that it is to have a tube in your chest and have to get hooked up to something every night, it saved my life. Before, we call it pre-TPN, I was so sick. I always had infections. I was always tired. There was no way I was fit to move away to college. No way. I would never have managed it. And realistically, I wasn't really able for a full-time college course either, but then that summer, like, I started the TPN, and then in September I started my course in LYIT. And that first year was, not even the first year, the first semester was crazy. The first week was crazy. I ended up in hospital 3 times, and it was mostly because everyone was terrified of me in LYIT. They didn't. I'm used to it. When I go to a new place, everyone, because they see all of these things that I have wrong with me, all my conditions, and they think, how is she still standing? And then there's me, and I'm just like, I've lived with this my whole life. It's what I'm used to, and it takes a while for people to realize that I'm capable, more capable than they might think. But anyway, that week was crazy anyway, because going to college, starting something new, my stress levels were through the roof, and my blood sugars were crazy, which was the main reason I ended up in hospital. And I even got an ambulance ride, which was quite cool, but the reason was I took a hypo, and by the time my blood sugar started to come up, I was already in the ambulance, and I was kind of thinking, at that point I was more sensible, and I was like, I should have told them that I don't need an ambulance, but it was too late. So that was a crazy week. And then later on, kind of coming near the end of the semester, I did get sepsis in my lung, and I was extremely ill with that. And I started to doubt myself then, thinking, can I do this course? Because it was a tough course, like pretty much any science course is tough. And I started to doubt myself. I was thinking, I'm going to miss all these lectures and labs now because of this sepsis infection. And yeah, it's probably like I need to get my priorities straight. I mean, it was a bit of a Hermione Granger moment.
I'm going to bed before either of you come up with another clever idea to get us killed, or worse, expelled.
That was like one of those moments where I was like, yeah, me failing my college course is kind of worse than me dying of sepsis. So I felt very down at that moment, but thankfully people at LYIT were so helpful, all my lectures, and it came to the arrangement that I would split my first year in 2. So I would do half of the modules in the first year, and then in my second year I would do the second half of the first year modules. So basically I would do 1 year over 2 years, and that worked very well for me. It lightened my workload. I was able to catch up quicker after I came back, and everything was fine. So then it was discussed that I want to do this for the second year and third year and fourth year, and at that point I'd been on my TPN for more than a year, and I was a lot stronger. I wasn't being hospitalized as much because I wasn't getting as much infections, and I just thought, no way am I gonna be 8 years in college. Like, I have to do this dietetics master's degree after, so I need to get through this course and then get on to my next step in my plan. So I said no, and I got through it. It was hard. Second year was definitely hard. There was a lot of assignments, a lot of group projects, and I did at times think, is this a good idea? But I managed it, and I also managed to start like integrating and doing clubs and societies and stuff. But it wasn't really till like I got to fourth year that I felt that I was really kind of getting into my groove, so to say, of, I'd be in Letterkenny, and if I didn't have classes and I felt okay, I would maybe go off and have alone time, go walk up to Penny's, which was just up the road. The youth club was also like, well, it was up a large hill, which was a fair walk, but like I had the freedom. And then all of a sudden COVID hit, and that freedom was all taken away for everybody, not just myself, but also because that was my last year. I done all my final exams online and that, and then I suddenly realised like that's college is over now. Like, what am I going to do now? I have to start working towards getting the dietetics degree. And I did think I'll leave till COVID gets over, but then I thought, well, I could start working on this now because COVID's going to be around for a while. And I did. I contacted my key worker and we started applying, but she did tell me at the very beginning that what I was looking for did not exist. So what I was looking for was overnight care. 12 to 15 hours, somebody in a room nearby if I needed them during the night that I could call for help. That's what it was. They would be able to sleep. They just had to be like have their phone or something beside them that they would hear it if I needed them. And that's what I needed. And at the start, I applied through the physical sensory disability department, and I got rejected because they deal with physical sensory disability. So that's like eyesight, hearing, mobility issues. I do have problems with my eyesight and my hearing, but not enough that it would degree help. And anyway, that's not what I was asking for help with. What I was asking for help was purely clinical needs. And I was asked all these questions like, can you get out of bed yourself? Can you shower yourself? Can you dress yourself? Cook, clean, all this. The answers to all of those questions for me is yes. I mean, if I was extremely ill and had just come back from, say, theatre or whatever, I would probably say no to those things. But that's like a situation that's not normal for me. It's not my everyday kind of thing. I am pretty independent in those kind of things. I can cook for myself. Me and my sisters all know how to clean. Definitely thanks to my daddy. He likes the house to be clean. And we've all been taught to be independent, to both of my parents. Like, basically, if we were left in the house alone, we would not starve, nor would we burn down the house, nor would the house be a tip when our parents came back. So all of that stuff I knew how to do, but I needed help with the medical stuff. I needed somebody to fill even a small bit of the gap that my parents have, because they're my full-time carers, and they are like, especially my mum would be counted as pre-med just for keeping me alive for 25 years. Despite not having any nursing degree at all, the things she's had to learn just to look after me. And my dad as well, like he's always up for help, and even if it probably scares him, like having to put on sterile gloves and me telling him like, if you touch this or anything or do anything wrong, it could kill me, kind of thing. Well, no, I never say that to him, but they've been great. So there was no way, unless somebody had a cloning machine, was I ever going to fill the gap. But I just needed somebody to kind of step in, just to be there. So that first letter, I was rejected, but we were going to appeal. We knew that I was going to be rejected the first time. That's what my key worker told me. So I was prepared for it, disappointed, but prepared. For the appeal, I got together a load of letters from my consultants, doctors, nurses, people who had cared for me in the past, so, some teachers, personal assistants that had taken me out places, my SNAs from secondary school, And my mum wrote a letter also, and I wrote a letter. And we sent all those letters off, and then the letter came back quite quickly, actually, within 2 weeks, that I was rejected again. Now, the difference between the first rejection and the second was the first one was basically saying I wasn't disabled enough to be getting this care. The second letter was like, whoa, you have way too many medical needs for us to cover, like to help with that. So they were saying that I had too many disabilities, and they then said they'd send me on to primary care. One thing that I discovered along this journey or fight or whatever you want to call it is that I didn't fit in anywhere. There's no specific department for people with chronic illnesses that aren't affecting their mobility. I mean, I have a very large file, multiple files on my medical condition, but none of it is really affecting my mobility or, things that I was being asked about. Nobody was asking me about my diabetes really, or my Addison's, or even like intestinal failure, which would be my three top things that kind of get in the way of daily life. I wasn't being asked about those things. Those were the things I needed help with. So there was no department for people like me. And then, so it was sent on to primary care, and I waited and waited for months, and I heard nothing. And I kept asking my key worker, and like she wasn't hearing anything either. She would like inquire about it, but we were basically just told, yeah, we have it, it's here in a pile, but nobody has really, either nobody's looked at it yet, or we haven't got around to making a decision. So I contacted the ombudsman because I wasn't getting any answers. And within 2 weeks of the ombudsman receiving my emails, I got a letter to say that I got a phone call actually and a letter to say that a nurse was going to come out and assess me at the house. And that was the start. So the nurse came out, she was lovely, and she asked me all the questions that I was being asked before, but she also let me tell her what I needed. And I showed her everything. I showed her my room with all the medical equipment. My dad was there. He spoke as well about the things they have to do. There was a little bit of tears, a little bit of crying. The one thing I hated about this process was I don't like talking about how much I need help with things because I'm very independent. And it's not that I'm in denial about what I need help with. It's more that thinking about it all the time really gets you down. It's very demeaning. And this was like, I was not over exaggerating anything. I didn't need to. And the nurse even said that. So then she went away, and then there was another assessment as well where I went to the nurse, and an occupational therapist came out, but she said that like what an occupational therapist does is they check your mobility. Can you open a can? Now I did tell her like strength wise I'm not very strong, so if you are asking me to open a jar or something, I might have difficulty from one day to the other. I do get more tired easily, so walking long distances, things like stairs, if there was a lot of stairs in a building, it wouldn't be great for me because number one, they would maybe make my blood sugars drop, and number two, I would get tired easily. But things like that, so that's kind of, she had to write a report on that, and then all these reports were sent off to somebody that I tried to find out who this somebody was, but at the time I didn't know, and then we had to wait. There was a lot of waiting involved, a lot of not knowing what was going on. I also contacted politicians about this, and they kept inquiring about it. So, I mean, we were coming at the HSE from all sides, trying to get an answer. And throughout this, kind of speaking to my mum, we decided that the dietetics course, the course itself, was not possible for me to do. The reason being, you need to have 1,000 hours, or need to do 1,000 hours of clinical placement, e.g. in a hospital. And even if there wasn't a COVID pandemic, my doctors try their best to keep me out of hospital as much as possible. So if there's anything, any treatment, anything that we can do at home, they try their best to do that so that I don't be coming into hospital unnecessarily and risk getting infections. And me, say, like, getting into this course and basically coming into the hospital to do the placement, it's kind of, it's not, it doesn't look great, because my doctors are kind of saying, you need to stay at a hospital because you're low immune system, and there's me kicking them in the face saying, well, like, I'm going to come in every day to a hospital to or to help patients, but put myself at risk. So, I mean, I was upset because, like I said, that's the only course that gets you to be a dietitian. And look, I haven't completely given up on it. It's on the back burner, as they'd say. In the future, there might be a way that I can do my placement outside of a hospital. But for now, I thought, what would be the best course to further my career, but still in the avenue of nutrition. So I'd already kind of set up my little nutrition business. I knew I liked talking to the public, so public health nutrition. So that's the masters I chose. And I wanted to kind of wait to see if I was going to get this overnight care before applying, but then I thought, well, maybe if I apply and get in, that might push them a little harder. So I did. And then I remember the day that I got the email to say that I'd been accepted, and I was in the living room. I was doing Rebecca Davies' Red Air Technique workout, and I was all sweaty, and I was getting into like a good stretch and phone beeped. And I normally leave like the emails and all time, finish my workout, but something in my head was like, check that. And I read it, and I rang Mum straight away, and she was like, oh, for sake. So I didn't know if that was a happy or a sad. I think it was more like, oh, she's got in now. We're going to have to, if she doesn't get this overnight care, she's going to be really, really disappointed. And that was true, I would be. But now I had this card, I was like, and it said in the email I had till a certain date to accept or I'd lose my spot. So I rang up my key worker. I was like, look, I've been accepted. I have until this date to accept my spot. Can you let them know that they need to hurry up? You would think that would kind of make somebody contact me, but it didn't. And it was getting closer and closer to the date, and I was like, there's no way they're going to get back to me by that date. I think it was the 6th of May or something. I was like, there's no way they're going to get back to me by that date, and I'll lose my spot. So I contacted UCD, and thankfully they said, it's okay, like, in certain circumstances like that, we'll hold your spot. So I knew that they would hold my spot, so I get more calm. But like, I still thought I need to know soon, because like, moving to Dublin is a big thing. I needed to get things sorted. I needed to buy things. I needed to prepare myself. And it was, we went on like a little family holiday, my sisters and my mum and me. We went to Harry Potter World in the UK. And while we were away, I got a phone call to say that there would be a meeting set up with me and 3 kind of people that were making the decision to talk about this. So I was like, great, that I'll get my answer in this one. So I went into that meeting with my mum, and we spoke about everything under the sun that could go wrong, all the risks involved. I felt a little bit like I was being attacked, like with questions, interrogated. I don't know. I felt really uncomfortable, and there was one point where I needed to leave the room and kind of pull myself together, because I was like, I can't give up now. And I came back and I kind of said, look, if I can get everything that we've discussed, like the risks, like what happens if you become ill, like how is there a setup in St. James's, this is where all my doctors are, is there a plan going to be set up, how am I going to get to UCD and back, there was a whole list of things. Also, like, where am I going to get the nurses, because they were saying there's a shortage of nurses, like you'll never get what they wanted me to get 5 nurses to look after you. And yeah, so I had a load of stuff. I had to do a care plan and everything. So I said, right, if you give me 2 weeks, I'll get all that done. Crazy idea. But it was the only way I could get them to kind of agree or give me a definitive answer to anything. I think they probably thought there was no way that I would get it done. But they don't know me. So I basically went into, I don't know what kind of mode you'd call it, but I was ringing, emailing people, trying to find nurses that would take up this job. I was trying to, like, I done a care plan for myself. Luckily, I was actually going to St. James's within them 2 weeks, so had a discussion with my doctor there, and we came then the second meeting. I went with my sister, and we went, and I had a folder, like the stick with everything, care plan for how I was going to get there, how I was going to get back. I'd managed to secure 4 student nurses that were graduated, that and training for them as well, like not really training, kind of an introduction on my line and stuff like that. So I had all that done, and I spoke. I didn't let them speak. I just kind of came in and put my folder down and just went through everything. And then they started talking about money. They started doing maths, and they were kind of speaking amongst themselves. And I remember sitting there thinking, holy shit. I'm getting the funding. And I went into kind of my own world. I didn't know what was going on. I was sitting there, and I didn't know whether to cry or to laugh or to hug somebody, or I don't know. And then they started asking me questions. Maths questions, which I'm terrible at maths. So trying to figure out how much funding I would need, and I was like saying yes to everything. And then I came out of the room and I hugged my sister, and I was just on cloud 200. I was so happy. I rang everybody that day. I even thinking back to that day, I just never felt so happy in my life. This was 2 weeks before I was starting UCD, so then I was kind of like, oh my god, I've not got a lot of time to get things started. And then I think the next day I went into our kitchen, and there was all these cardboard boxes with stuff, frying pans and stuff. So my mum, she was starting to pack for me already, which made it even more real. My auntie basically bought me a full kitchen set with a steamer, and she bought me duvet covers and sheets and everything. So yeah, Auntie Marie, thank you very much for all of that stuff. And then I had to what am I going to bring? I started panicking a little bit about the clothes, because I was like, do I bring all of my clothes or what? Because like I said, I've never lived away from my parents before. And then so one of the nurses, that she wasn't going to be able to do the full year, but I knew her from secondary school, Ailish, and she was going to kind of do a few nights for the first 2 weeks, to get me settled, and because a few things between then happened that some of the nurses had to drop out, unfortunately, and that I was panicking that I was going to end up not having any to start, but Elise thankfully stepped in, and then the first 2 weeks that I was at UCD, I managed to get things sorted. So I have carers now, and they're great. I have a team of carers, and everything's great now. But when I started my first week there, it was so strange just being able to walk out of the building and go to the gym, go to an exercise class. There's a cinema there, go to the cinema, just walk about. Like, the campus is amazing, and not having to really plan it. I could wake up and say, I feel good. I feel like doing some exercise, going for a walk. I basically spent the first couple of days exploring before my classes started, and I think I knew then that this is going to work, as I felt like I just fitted in pretty good. Was it smooth? It was a lot smoother than I thought it would be. Nothing smooth with me. There's normally some kind of little blip along the way. One of the things was I had to change one of my treatments from getting it through my line. Actually, I had to change one of my treatments from getting it through my line, and the week before I was moving to UCD, I had to get a new line in, which meant getting a new line in meant going to James's, going under anaesthetic, general anaesthetic, having a sore neck for a while. I was worried that I was going to be really sore when I started UCD, because my other line that I got in, I was on morphine for a week, and I didn't think my parents would let me move out of the house while I was on oral morphine, but thankfully I didn't need it, so that worked. But then the treatment that I couldn't get through my line anymore, I had to learn how to do it a different way, so I had to go into St. James's every week for training for that. But that was sorted then, and I started my classes, and my lecturers are all great. Everyone in my class is so nice, and all my modules are so interesting, difficult, but really interesting. And another thing that happened is I started to think, what I was doing this course was to get a job in HSE, but a lot of the people in my class are aiming for things like working with the World Health Organization or UNICEF, or a bigger global organization. So I'm thinking like maybe that's the next step. So that's kind of the story so far. It's not over yet. I still have another semester to do, and something that I've kind of had to do. I realised that doing the full-time master's course and looking after my health enough that to keep me well, it was too much for me to do on my own. So UCD has kindly allowed me to do my 1 year over 2 years, so I'll be there for another year. Still have to hear back from the HSE about another year of funding, but I'm hoping, because the things have gone so well so far, that won't be too much of an issue. But it was getting to the point where I was like, if anything did happen to me, if I became ill in any way, I would not be able to catch up, and all of this would have been for nothing. I wouldn't get my degree. And more important than a degree, like a sheet of paper, is I wanted to learn and take in as much information as possible, so that when I did graduate, I would have the skills and the knowledge to move forward and help people, which is what I want to do. So I've while I was at UCD, I was thinking about doing the whole blog thing, bringing the camera or the phone around with me and talking into it, but I'm not very comfortable with that. And as well, that I was so busy just living my life that I didn't really have time to. I did try to take pictures of like events that I went to. So I went to the Nightmare Run with Halloween, which was like something organised by the residents people, and there was like a ball that I went to for one of the societies was throwing. I was in the Christmas Dance Society showcase and different things like that that happened around the campus. I took pictures of those. I tried to kind of take videos and stuff of my exploring the campus. So I've kind of stuck them all together, mushed them all together, and put them a song, which I think is a perfect song for this video. It's the script, Dare to Doubt Me. It's kind of been my anthem throughout this year so far, because I mean, if you listen to the words, I dare you to doubt me, say it can't be done, I ain't gonna stop to the air at my lungs. I'm not gonna start singing on camera, but I mean, a lot of people doubted me, and I know they did, and they had good reason to, but a lot of people didn't doubt me. I didn't doubt myself. I knew that I would get there eventually, and I have got there now. I still have to get to the end of the course, but I've got there, and I definitely love it there, and I've already become so much more independent, and so yeah, enjoy the little musical montage that I've done, and hopefully I'll make another video soon about me and UCD, and I don't know what else I'll sign up to or get up to, but next semester or this semester coming, I plan to definitely try to integrate more, maybe go off campus a little bit, yeah, and do some crazy things.
I dare you to doubt me, say it can't be done. I ain't gonna stop till the air's left my lungs. Say I don't belong here, tell me that I'm wrong, and you're gonna see. I dare you to doubt me, till I'm at the top, at the top, at the top, yeah. Never gonna stop me, till I'm at the top, at the top, at the top, yeah. Never gonna stop me. Take the pain and turn it into fire. Standing on the hurt, you're gonna be reaching even higher. Living every moment like you're dying with desire. Gotta go through hell before you're hearing heaven's choir. So I try to always do my best, yes, in anything and everything, you know I'm obsessed. It's my life, I know that I am blessed. God put me in the room, I'll do the rest, yes. I dare you to doubt me, say it can't be done. I ain't gonna stop till the air's left my lungs. Say I don't belong here, tell me that I'm wrong, and you're gonna see. I dare you to doubt me, till I'm at the top, at the top, at the top, yeah. Never gonna stop me, till I'm at the top, at the top, at the top, yeah. Never gonna stop me. If you can see it, then you can be it. I know if you speak it, believe it, then you receive it. There are lonely roads we go down following the feeling, but if it's not worth fighting for, then it's got no meaning. All I know is I try with everything I got, yeah. Wearing all the scars from all the battles that I fought. You know that I'm dangerous when I'm down, but never ever count me out. I dare you to doubt me, say it can't be done. I ain't gonna stop till the air's left my lungs. Say I don't belong here, tell me that I'm wrong, and you're gonna see. I dare you to doubt me, till I'm at the top, at the top, at the top, yeah. Never gonna stop me, till I'm at the top, at the top, at the top, yeah. Never gonna stop me. Myself on the battle and I found peace. You could take the L cause the W was on me, and now you can't take your eyes on me. I know I'm not perfect, I forgot my tell lies. Yeah, I make mistakes, but Lord knows that I try. You see, when the stumble, I fall. I get back up, stand tall. Stone by stone, brick by brick, I'm climbing up the wall till I'm at the top, at the top, at the top, yeah.